You are now tuned in to Unorthodox Gypsy, the podcast that delves into what makes people tick. Live life through other people's experiences. Anyone, anywhere, anything.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Unorthodox Gypsy. I am your host, Alexandria, and today I have another fellow gypsy.
Hi.
All right. She's a very old friend of mine, and I just got reminded how we met because I completely forgot. But yeah, so what's your story?
So I'm Gypsy, and I'm 36. I have 3 children, and I am a domestic violence victim survivor.
Do you want to go into a little bit more of that story, or is that something that's still hard to talk about?
Oh man, that's where the name Gypsy actually really stuck. I left my last marriage, and me and my daughter went on the road. We lived in Vegas for a period of time, came back to Idaho, and now we're currently here in Oregon. And my whole business was based off that whole survival. We did the homeless thing, and then COVID hit, and kind of took to social media and to help other people. They just started raking in, and things just kind of grew from there.
So how did you end up in Vegas, of all places?
Oh, man. I've been asked that so many times because people are like, why would you go to Vegas? Because it was based off of recovery. Most people go to Vegas to, play. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We went there, and I lived with a friend who was a social worker, and I did a mental health program that helped me get back on my feet. I didn't have to work for 8 months, and I did NA meetings, AA meetings, did a lot of counseling, did a little bit of sightseeing. It's not all it's revved up to be over there.
Life off of the strip is much different.
It's so different. It's not all fame and glam and, rock star life. I lived on the outskirts in Henderson, and I would take off once in a while and go down, to the waterfront and enjoy my time by myself. Until we ended up back here in Idaho, because just kind of had a wake-up call. Why was I over in Vegas? Because I had 2 kids that were still over here, waiting for me.
So how did that separation happen? What was going on with your children during this time?
So I had actually went through rehab, and like I said, a very abusive relationship. I was stuck in an on and off cycle of not being able to get it together. I had lost my family, my friends. I had even lost custody of my kids for a period of time. It just wasn't working where I was at. And if it wasn't for my friend, over in Vegas at the time that had pulled me out of my situation, it allowed the recovery for, the choice of recovery to actually happen. And that's where it happened.
Okay. So you said that you had a wake-up call. Why did you come back to Idaho? Was it just purely for your children, or is that where you just wanted to restart?
My kids had missed me. That was the wake-up call. My daughter had really missed home as well. We were fish out of water over there. She was raised, in Idaho, never had been, away from home or away from her siblings, for that matter. I realized that, the universe just wasn't allowing me to move forward. My car broke down. Every time I tried to get a job, I was stonewalled. I was even trying to do public transportation, and the transportation over there is a mess. They do not have a good system, and it's so hot outside my phone would like glitch out, and then I would get lost, and it wasn't working. I actually had one of my spiritual awakenings there, where my business ties in. I was starting to have, prophetic dreams and visions, and I really started studying my tarot. It became, my outlet, and, God or source or, universe, if you will. I knew I didn't belong there anymore. It was just so I could get better.
Yeah.
Mentally, emotionally.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you briefly touched on your business. Let's talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, so I'm a psychic medium, and I'm what's known as a twin flame guide. So I do spiritual advisory. I generally work with addicts and recovery and domestic violence victims. I've come from that background like my whole life. So, it just made sense. So a lot of the tools, that I learned in rehab, and then, CPS situations, taking parental courses, all of that ties into my business now. I mostly do my appointments virtually, online. I have my own website and YouTube, and then I do a lot of the main stuff through Facebook. And then I also work in the community where I make and sell my own products, a lot of events, art shows, and even in the summertime, I teach hoop dance classes in the park.
Yes, that was one thing that I always thought was super cool about you, is you always did the hula hoop thing, and I was just like, wow, that's incredible, because I tried that and I looked like a freaking dolphin.
Oh no! You got to get over that. It really helps with insecurities. It wakes up your kundalini and your sexual energy, because there's a little bit of erotica in there as well. Freedom of expression. And when you have, a group of girls all doing it at the same time, you feel a little bit less, insecure about, people looking at you. It's like the drunk dance. I don't care.
Yeah. So before we move forward, I don't want to lose this opportunity for you to promote yourself. What's the name of your business?
So my business is Mirrorminology. You can find me at mirrorminology.com. I'm on YouTube. That one's Mirrorminology Tarot. And then that's the same for Facebook. And then my regular promoting is Gypsy Valentine on Facebook.
Yes, and if you ever want a tarot reading, she's fantastic. I've had one done, and I'm constantly looking for an option to do it again.
Super appreciate that. Thank you.
So I'll be completely honest. When I had the reading, I was like, okay, some of this is all right, it makes sense to me. And then other things I'm just like, that's a little far-fetched. That will never happen. But sure enough, over the course of the year, not even a full year, everything that you've said has happened.
Oh man, I get that a lot. I am pretty forward and blunt. Sometimes with my readings, I try to be as compassionate and understanding as I can. But sometimes when somebody else's guides come through, because they know how you work,
right?
You know what I mean. So a lot of the times that's them coming through. And some clients, they'll go through, a crisis and they'll disappear, and then they usually come back because they're ready to move forward. And I help people with blockages or, obstacles that are in their way. If you're stuck and just can't find your way out, I can help with those areas.
Yeah, for sure. Well, there was something that you said. It's just everything's going to change. Everything's going to change. And I was like, okay, whatever. No, we literally, we changed everything in our life. We sold our house and we started traveling. Everything about our life is completely different. It's bizarre. Yeah. And it's I always wonder, is it because she said something? Or is it because it was going to happen?
No, because it was going to happen. And a lot of people, I like to divine timing, right? People find me in their moments where things are about to change. And some of my clients are like, gosh, I'm almost scared to get another reading because every time I get a reading, some, thing is moved out of the way. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you're doing the work,
Right.
and, I give out homework, as well. I don't just, tell you things to come and be like, well, have a good day, like, I'm going to give you some advice to work through it. And that, self-care as well. There's meditations involved and, self-love and, also, the removal of people, places, and things that are, just toxic,
Yeah, for sure. So, we were just talking about it a couple minutes ago, just like how we met, and you're like, oh yeah, we met in college. And I'm like, what the fuck? No, we didn't.
Yeah, I'm so sure that it was communications class. Like, I honestly believe it was communications.
And you're probably right, but I have this thing that I do. And if something traumatic happens during that period of my life, like I seriously can't remember any of that year.
Oh, blacked out.
I black it out. And
okay.
I'm just learning that now that I do that.
Okay.
But I did have a very, very traumatic, and that might be where I think you met my mom too, because she was in a class with me.
Was she? I remember we partnered a few times. I'm so sure it was communications class because I remember the teacher.
Oh my gosh, I'm kind of remembering it
Yeah,
now.
telling our group like, "Hey, you guys could be on TV someday, or
Oh
do you
my
want to
gosh,
show?"
yeah.
I know that here we are. Like, yeah. Does this count? This counts.
This counts.
Right?
I mean, because this is going to blow up. I know it's going to.
I just got all tingly. I believe in that. I totally believe in that.
I do too. Like it's something that, I mean, my mom always said I was going to be like a news anchor. I'm like, that's boring.
Doesn't have to be boring.
Well, it doesn't have to be like public news. It's got to be like personal news, you
right?
know? So
Yeah,
I don't know.
local stuff.
But yeah, so now it's kind of making sense now, and I don't think it was the same class with my mom, because I think speech was the class that I did with my mom. But yeah, I think it was communications or something like that, and I do remember that. And then also there's the connection with the next boyfriend that I had.
Yeah, that guy. That guy.
Yeah. But I remember how much I just adored you.
Aww.
Like anytime we would go over to your house, I was like, she's just so cool.
Aww.
Because you always demonstrated this aura about yourself. Like you were always so sure of who you were, and you were very self-confident and like, please don't take this the wrong way, but just different. You were just different than everybody, and it was just captivating, and I loved it.
Oh my gosh, that is such a compliment, because I lost that person for a while.
Yeah.
I think during that time when you were coming over and I'd met you a few times, I had a hoop group going, and actually I had my hula hoop business going, where I made and sold a ridiculous amount of hula hoops, and I would go to events, like hundreds of like hula hoops, and I was really trying to find myself. At that time, I just had my last child, my daughter.
I remember meeting her
Yeah,
as a baby.
yeah, because my first marriage was almost 10 years. There was a lot of learning and stuff involved, and the hoop business fell apart. And my insecurities were like raised, and then that's where a lot of drugs and stuff were introduced, and had to find myself all over again. I'd like to think this is the remodeled version.
But like all the things that I adored then are like tenfold now.
Aw,
So yeah, I think you're right. It's like the remodeled upgrade.
I like that. Leveled up.
Yep. No, and see, these are the stories that I love. I love the stories where it's like, it's not the beaten down person, it's the person that comes after that.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
No, for sure. I love turnover stories as well. Or running into people from the past. Like seeing how much you've grown since college too. I don't even remember how I found you on Facebook again this last time. I think that was during the time that I just re-entered the public and was reading tarot at a local store in Weiser.
Yes, maybe it was. Yes, because I saw your name come up on something, and it wasn't the same name that I knew you by.
Yeah.
It was a completely
I
different
know
name.
that face.
But I didn't see your face yet, but I was drawn to the name. And so then I clicked on it, and then I saw your face, and I'm like, wait a second. I don't remember that. And yeah, so it was just, that's kind of what started that. But I do remember prior to that, I had just gotten pregnant with my first child,
Oh,
and you invited me to like a goddess fest thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that sounds like so much fun, but like I'm such a fucking head case right now. Like I couldn't do it. Like I just couldn't. Plus I was horribly sick. That would not have been a good time.
Yeah. You said
But
that one was a girl?
both of mine are girls. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
My boys made me really sick.
See,
Really sick.
That is so weird to me. Like a lot of people tell me that, and I'm just like, no. I had HG with both of mine.
Oh, okay.
And it got worse with my second, and I was just like, I'm tapped out. I'm done. But
Did you ever get to actually attend one of the Goddess Fests?
I haven't.
Oh my gosh, you need to go. They finally brought it back this last year, because COVID put a huge damper, like, what we know about Idaho and the scene, like, the music and festivals, like, it's a big part of our life. And when that stuff wasn't going on, it was just so doom and gloom. But yeah, they brought it back this last year. They did hold it at a different venue, but they had all that amazing energy that they usually bring forth. There's like, witches and druids and, goddess, like, elven. And then they have belly dancers, with snakes and, oh my gosh. And the food's always good too. But meditation and tarot, I mean, it's so magical. I definitely look forward to that one every single year.
So I am going to make it a point to hopefully make it, as long as we're not on the road, I'm making it a point to try and go this year. I might even make it a point to go regardless of where we are in the country.
Yeah, there's people all over the country that will travel to like be a part of this, or just, to even visit. It's amazing.
It's in like June, right?
Yeah, I believe it's in June.
I want to say the 24th.
Yeah, somewhere around there. They like to hold it around the same time frame so people can, plan for it. I believe they already released a date, so I will have to get back to you on that. But goddessfest.com usually has that information.
Sorry, I gotta get a drink real quick. So yeah, talk a little bit, like you don't have to describe like what your actual name was if you don't want to, but talk about that transition a little bit.
Oh, okay.
If you want to.
Yeah, no, let's talk about it, because it does come up in the public from time to time. I used to get a lot of flack for it, but now I wear it with pride. We live in an area where Boise was built on migrants, not just from China, but from the Basque community.
Mm-hmm.
That I remember when we were in college, I was taking an anthropology class, and we actually got to go down to the Basque area, and their names are etched in the sidewalk, the people who actually stayed in those halfway houses and built our infrastructure. So it's like super important. And this area, the name Gypsy does not have a bad rap. Like, it's very loved and cared for. So the name Gypsy kind of started from there. And I was also in the metal scene, and I got called Gypsy Queen all the time because the way I would do my makeup or my hair and my clothes. And then when I went to Vegas, man, I'm gonna try not get emotional. My old life was, it was gone.
Right.
It was gone. I had a hard time with my name, and I wanted to start over. And I was living at a house that had multiple roommates and children. There was a band and stuff on site. And they all just, they were also in the metal scene that had moved away. So it was like a piece from home, you know? And so they kept calling me that. And I was like, you know what? This just keeps coming around. I'm gonna take it. And then the last name Valentine actually comes from extended family members. So, that part is actually, very well connected. And then I'm Irish, and, the Gypsies were not just Basque or Romani.
Right.
They were Irish. That's Western, Europe over on the coastline. So that's very much ingrained.
Just a tidbit of history, which I'm sure you know, but the reason why the term Black Irish came about is because of Irish and Basque mating.
Yeah.
Getting together. So I'm Basque, so that's why I think
I love that so much.
So when you're talking about it, I'm like,
yeah, with Gypsy Valentine. I love that. That's great. That makes, I didn't know that. That just, I love that. So yeah, I wear the name with pride, and I have thought about actually changing it legally, because my entire business is ran off of, that alias, if you will. I've even done my Reiki courses, and my teacher has, given me certificates with the name on it. And it really had to make me think, because I'm like, oh, am I going to hang these in my office?
Right.
Like this? Like, do I print out, my birth name as well? So my birth name is Billy Joe, and I used to get made fun of a lot growing up. And so I never really was comfortable with the masculinity that it came with. And then, as I became more feminine, I still feel like my new name fits, like in transition, if you will. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I really do like it. At first, I was just like, what? I was so taken by it, because it was another one of those things, like, I liked that it was different, I liked that your name was just different. I mean, it still is, but I just liked that. It was just another, I am not attracted in any way, shape, or form to normalcy.
Me neither.
So it's
it
just
has
like,
to be a little bit weird,
yeah,
or a
funky,
little bit broken.
quirky, yeah.
That smells like cheese.
What the hell? Well, I'm not entirely sure it smells like cheese, but that's the message of the day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that threw me off for a second. But yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Were you saying the microphone smells like cheese?
No, it's just, I was just
Oh,
throwing
a
it off.
smell.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
No, it has to be funky. It has to be broken. Maybe it smells like cheese.
Got you. Okay, but it's still good. Yeah, no. I was really wondering if you smelled something that smelled like cheese.
No.
I'm like, shit, did I put deodorant on? Oh man, yeah, no, that was good. Yeah, so talking about the etched names of the Basque culture, my family's name is there. Garachana.
Oh my gosh.
And my family's pictures are in the museum.
That's amazing.
So my grandma and her mom and dad, they actually, when they immigrated here, they, it's not there anymore, but the Bluebird Hotel and Barbershop, they ran that and owned it.
Wow.
Yep, it's now a parking lot.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
You've earned it. You earned it.
Earned what?
Your business name.
Oh, well, it's funny, like...
Changing the way people see things. That's what I like about Boise, and the way they left that there. It was so important to not be forgotten. There's a lot of stigma and, racism that people deal with from day to day, and I definitely don't want to take away from any of that. But I think there's definitely areas where things can be turned around and looked at differently.
Yeah. Yes, and that was kind of the whole point of this. Oh gosh, I keep hitting that. That was kind of the whole point of this podcast was like shining a light on like things that are different. Like I don't have to agree with it. You don't have to agree with it, but like it's real and it's happening. We might as well talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Absolutely.
I mean, there's plenty of things that I don't agree with, or at least have my reserves for, but I do feel like it's worth talking about because I feel like unless you have all the information, you can't really have an opinion.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. I appreciate that as well. And whereas one area it may, have a bad stigma, there's other areas where it's definitely not, and that's where I definitely stick up for it. And why I wear it with pride.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about your childhood. What was that like?
Oh man. I moved around a lot. A lot.
So you were a gypsy as a
Yes,
child.
like it still just keeps going. I had a pretty rough going. I didn't know my biological father, but I did have an adoptive dad that had stepped in, and he's still there for me on the regular. I'm estranged from my mother. I'm like one of 9 siblings. Some of them are blood, half, step, every which way in between. The moving around, it made it difficult to finish school. I dropped out really, really young and started having kids early. Didn't get my GED, until I was like 27, because school was really hard. I got made fun of a lot. It took a long time to find my personality. There was a lot of trauma there. Didn't know how to deal with, certain situations, and I didn't trust counselors and stuff at the time. I had a really bad experience. It's not like that now. I actually go to counseling, therapy regularly, and I absolutely love it. It's changed my life, but I think this is where I've felt the most rooted for a long time. I'm not quite sure where I'll go next, but being single with my kid and then building the business, amongst everything, like it feels solid.
Right.
Like something finally feels like solid.
And it's all yours.
And it's all mine, and nobody can take that from me. I don't have to share it. I don't have to give it away. Like everything matches. Like, and when I say that, like, it sounds ridiculous because little things like my YouTube and my Facebook and my actual domain name matching, like it's important to me.
Right.
Even when I got my business license, I was like, wow, this is one for the books, Like, I never thought in a million years, that I would actually own my own business, doing things that I absolutely like. Because I tell you what, when I got in trouble years ago and I went to rehab and, I had to do, custody stuff, my spiritual beliefs were definitely brought up in court, and it was a serious issue. It was a serious issue. The advocates and the counselors and, the judges, like, they were like, what are you doing? Because I didn't really have anything to show for it. There was so much judgment. And now that I've recovered, now I have all this, support from, my kids' dads. And it's great. It's great. Community support. Community support. I don't know what I would do without my community. Seriously.
Yeah. It's like a different family. It's like your own family.
Yeah. New family. They've definitely stepped in for the people that I've lost, because I don't have a lot of family that, supports me, because like I said, some of the stuff I do is still very, controversial. And that's okay. That's okay.
I do think it's kind of on the rise, though. I feel like a lot more people are more open to the idea of not everything being black and white.
Oh, I agree. Especially, I'd have to say Boise has really welcomed that in. The urban, because it comes with a lot of healing. And now that, it's out in the open, out of the witch broom closet, they say, like, it's a funny story because the old, do you know where that comes from?
Mm-mm.
The witches on the broomstick. They used to make these salves out of noxious, poisonous weeds and stuff like that. And they would make what was called a flying ointment. And because you couldn't touch it, because it was poisonous, they would need an applicator stick. So they would use their broomstick and put it on the end and huff it. And then they'd get all high and run around on their broom. They'd be like, oh, there goes another witch. But anyway, yeah. Back to Boise, I attend a lot of events where I feature a lot of my products, whether they're, oils or, special candles, tarot cards. And the community has been very open about learning about it. Even other religious, belief systems will come in and be very open-minded, like, oh, I want to know more, about that. And I appreciate that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, well, I remember I have this very vivid memory of when I was a kid, and like we got a box of my grandma's stuff. I think it was my grandma. It could have been some random person. I don't know. But there was a box of tarot cards in our garage. And I was obviously like, oh, wow, those are so cool.
Do you still have this?
No.
Oh, no.
But I thought they were so cool, and I loved them, and I start messing with them, and of course, there's a devil card in there. And backstory, I grew up Roman Catholic, so that was like scary.
Oh, okay.
And then our radio flicked on, and it was the Get Your Freak On song. And I'm like, oh my God, they're talking to me! I'm being possessed.
That devil card usually does scare the shit out of people. Am I allowed to say that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Sorry, I've been like holding it in this whole time.
Oh no, this is explicit.
Okay, thank you, because I was trying to be as professional as I could.
There's nothing professional.
So the devil card and the death card usually has the worst rap. The devil usually is depicted where there's actually two lovers in it. It's no different than the lover's card, except instead of an angel in the background, there's a devil, and then the two people chained together. And it talks about contracts. Because down here on Earth, it's all about contracts and materialism and stuff like that. It can talk about addictions, obsessions, those things. And then the death card is about, endings. It doesn't always signify, death.
Right.
Where some people are like, oh my God, it's not like that. It can talk about sudden change or, again, the end of a cycle, and or even new beginnings in some cases, depending on the other cards, they're available.
Yeah, well, and I've taken some interest recently in learning a little bit more about tarot, and like I swear I'm like watching videos on it like pretty much every day that I'm at a workout session, because that's what gets me going.
Oh, like the ones on YouTube?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you know what? When I was in Vegas, I found those too. And I mean, I'd been reading and studying tarot since I was like 19, but when I found it on YouTube, I was like, no way! Are you serious? This stuff is out here? Like, and I was like, to hell with listening to music all the time. I'm gonna see what, all these psychics and stuff are doing. And I noticed not all of them resonated, and they weren't always for me, but this also allowed me to explore other areas of my birth chart, because your sun sign is not everything you are, where you go and read your horoscope and you're like, that's not me.
Right.
Yeah. So, you go and look at the other areas, because also the moon, because I do moonology. So the moon will be in, different zodiac phases, every day. Well, sometimes it'll be in the same sign for a couple days, and those, energies will affect us in those signs. So, that huge influence, right? But yeah, that actually helped me study tarot in a different light, and in the introduction of all the other different decks and stuff that we're using. I'm like, oh, I gotta have that one.
Right.
Oh, I gotta get that one. All right, I'm putting that one on my wish list, and now I've got like almost 30 decks And a lot of clients that I've met or places that I've visited, people that I met, they're like, "Oh, I have this old deck. I want you to have it." So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, that is really awesome that you're gifted them. That is something that I'm hoping happens, but I'm also not going to wait on it.
Yeah, don't wait on it. Do you have your own deck?
No,
Are you serious?
but my birthday's coming up, so I've been hinting to Justin. I'm like, hey, this is cool.
All right. Something to think about. All right.
But yeah, no, I call it my meditation, and it's something that I try to do it every single day. Is just to like learn something, and you know that's my meditation. Something to think about and to ruminate on, and I don't know. A lot has changed since you came back into my life, and I do feel like you were kind of a catalyst to a lot of it because I felt like it was okay now.
Oh.
You know, like,
Yeah.
because I don't know how to describe this in a way that makes sense, but you kind of brought something up earlier about just divine timing and kind of going back to the Goddess Fest thing. I think that I just haven't went because I wasn't ready yet.
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
People are worried about being accepted, even though they're going around a lot of other people that have accepted that and they're willing to accept you, but there is an energy that comes with it.
Right.
You know, when you walk into it, you can feel it. You can feel other people, and when you're around other, you know, gifted or spiritual people, this opens you up. And, you know, I've always felt that you have, you know, gifts that are untapped and just, you know, waiting to be used. And when you're around these people, it opens it up automatically.
Yeah.
You know, it just happens. And it can be scary if you don't have a mentor, or you don't know what's happening. Like, why am I dreaming this? You know, repeat dreams. A lot of the times they're about emotions, you know, precursors to a way that you know, might react. I mean, these are little things, the way our intuition, you know, will speak to us. But again, when you're around a lot of gifted people, and I am all the time, I get overwhelmed as well too. And I'm just as insecure as the next person, for sure.
See, and that you don't come off that way at all. And that's one of the things that I think I've always liked so much is because you just, even if you are insecure, like, you're like, I don't care that I'm insecure.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you know, and I like that because, I mean, everybody's going to have some insecurities. But it's about just being able to push past them, I think, and just, you know, punch fear in the face.
Yeah, punching fear in the face. I've lived a majority of my life with a ridiculous amount of anxiety, worrying about what people were thinking about me, you know, and then, you know, also being queer. You know, I grew up with that. So, like, you know, I was pushed not only for, you know, sexuality, but spiritual beliefs, or, you know, the way I looked. And I just reached a point where I'm like, I don't fucking care anymore.
Right.
And I just want to be around other people that, you know, aren't concerned about, you know, my makeup and my clothes, or, you know, how I'm carrying myself, or, you know, even being around, you know, toxic feminine energy. You know, I like being around women who build each other up, not down.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know why we do that. I spent a lot of my life kind of being on both ends of that. And at the end of the day, it was purely because of my own, like, self-consciousness with
approval.
myself. Yeah.
Approval. It's a huge thing, you know, and I always sought that out with my mother, because I just never, you know, I never had it. She wasn't there, and, you know, or when she was, it was always like, you know, I wanted to be the best, or, you know, whatever. But, you know, like I said, you know, because of who I am, it was always a problem. So I'm like, okay, approval seeking. I should take that into consideration, why I'm choosing friendships that I have. And I feel over the last couple of years, you know, that I've been pretty diligent about setting boundaries. They're so important.
Yeah.
So important. I'm not always going to say yes. And I'm not going to put my feelings aside to make somebody else feel better when they've wronged me, you know?
Yeah. Or even
Yeah.
when you just don't want to do something.
Yeah, like, yeah, so I'm sorry. Like, I don't have the energy for that.
Like, why do we feel like we're going to get in trouble if we don't do what people want?
Oh,
Like, and it could be something so simple, too. Like, oh, hey, do you want to come do this with us? Just like, I really don't.
yeah.
It's like, oh, no, sorry, my kid's sick.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Like-
But shit, I mean, if you have to pull back your energy, it's for good reason. I like to tell myself, like, you're allowed to have space.
Yeah.
You're allowed to pull back your energy.
For sure. So, okay. Did you grow up in a household that experimented with the ideas of the metaphysical and stuff like that? Or like,
No.
okay, what was
No.
that like? What was that like? What did you grow up like?
Okay, so let's see. So like under 8, I lived with my mom and my adoptive dad, and I could see ghosts, and I would frequently wake my mom up like, "Hey, there's something in my room," and she's like, "There's nothing there. There's nothing there. You know, give me a piece of candy and then send me back to bed, right?" Or I would just say like the most weird, randomest shit, like things that I saw, and my mother didn't understand, you know, what was going on, because she was not religious, but she also was not open to that. And you know, when you tell a child, you know, so many times that it doesn't exist, it puts you back to sleep. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, because there's a certain age where, you know, you wake up to these things, and like I said, you know, it's just like monsters. Oh, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. You stop believing in it, because that's how magic and spirituality work. If you don't believe in it, you don't see it. Well, some people, you know, they can't help it. But and then I lived with my grandmother for, you know, a good segment of my life, and she was very religious. We had, I'd like to say, surveyed a few different churches. You know, we did the LDS, you know, Pentecostal, Christian, you know, all different kinds of things. And the esoteric occult was not okay.
Right.
It was not okay. Like, you know, because I had, you know, friends in the church that I also went to school with, and I wasn't allowed to talk about that stuff with them either. And I just kind of, you know, found myself being alone in this aspect. And so in elementary school, I would go to the local library after school, and I would literally spend a lot of time in like the new age section. Yeah, right? Reading about vampires and werewolves and, you know, witches and, you know, folklore, superstitions, stuff like that. And, you know, I would sneak these books home and not let my grandma see. I mean, we couldn't even have Goosebumps. Like, it was, or Harry Potter.
Aw.
Like, oh my gosh, Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter.
What?
I watch the whole series at least once a year,
Right.
okay? Like, so...
Those damn wizards.
Yeah, I know, right? Harry Potter. It wasn't until I got pregnant with my first son, I was 16, and his father, his family, that side of his family, they were open-minded to this, and one of those family members actually became a mentor of mine. And then when you're pregnant, they say you become a little more open and gifted. There's just something about the creation energy that opens you up to these things. I don't know if this is something that maybe you've experienced, or something maybe you can ponder and meditate on that. If things were a little bit weirder when you were pregnant, or, you know, even dreams and stuff that came in. But yeah, I had a mentor, and I realized at that point I was allowed to explore. And then I also lived in an area, you know, being over here in Idaho, again, where the people were a little more open-minded. There was like coven meetups, witch groups. The community also helped allow this to unfold. So my childhood definitely stifled. And here we are now.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because I always thought like you grew up that way and that's why it came so naturally
Oh
to you.
man, no.
But so much of your story resonates with me because like it wasn't libraries for me, is I would go to Hastings.
I loved that store. God, I wish they would bring that back. Freaking Netflix ruined everything. God.
And I spent hours in the New Age section there.
It was a good
Hours.
section
And
too.
I learned so much.
They sold tarot cards and
Yep.
stuff. They're actually my first. I should have brought it over here. My very first deck was actually from Hastings.
That's so funny.
A friend had bought me them from there. I ended up getting him the same deck, and we started practicing together. And that was at 19. Yeah, that was at 19. It was a really cool deck. It was the Compass Quest Tarot. Lelowin makes a lot of books on witchcraft, calendars, and tarot cards, but this particular deck is no longer in print. And it goes for several $100s on like eBay. I ended up getting another one to follow up because my other one was just like falling apart from learning how to use it. Like the corners and stuff were falling off, and I'm like, oh, I want to preserve this because it's like so important. But it was very open-minded to like the LGBTQIA as far as like the identities and genders, because there's depicted people in tarot, and I really liked that it was open-minded in that fact. It was very beautifully illustrated, just lots of color, and then it also taught reversals of the cards, so there was a lot of duality and stuff, and I really felt like when that deck came to me, it was definitely for me, and so I kept going back to Hastings to find other books. I was really sad when they closed. It's so funny you mentioned them because I just was talking to a friend about that the other day.
Yeah, so that's what I would do. Is I'd spend hours there, and anything that I couldn't afford to buy, I would like write down in a notebook and shove it in my purse. So I would spend a lot of time. For me, a lot of it was astrology. I was really interested in astrology at that time in my life, which later on, because that was a big no-no in the Catholic world, right?
Not even astrology?
No,
Oh,
nothing, absolutely nothing.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah.
That's a sin.
Oh,
I
no.
should have been at confession. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
But, my grandfather, my poppy, I was very close to him, and I still love him so much, but he has since passed away. But after he passed away, he was very big in the church, and that's when my mom kind of started exploring a lot more in her own life, and was more open to these things. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited now that you're open to these things. So it kind of opened this door that may have been shut for the wrong reasons. So we were able to have a rekindling in a way with that. So, yeah.
That's amazing.
But this isn't about me.
No! I love learning things about you. That's great.
Well, I feel like we have a lot of similarities. There's always a cat. There's and
Sorry,
every
that's my
no,
cat.
it's fine. It's so funny though, because every time I do a podcast, a cat interrupts every single time.
It's like that with my tarot. It's the energy that's being emitted. They're very sensitive to that. Meow meow.
It smells my cat now.
She really likes shoes. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
She literally will stick her whole head in like her shoes and like try to roll around and stuff. I'm like, that's weird, but okay.
Yeah, mine are all torn up from my cat, so there's that. But yeah, no, I haven't had a recording yet that doesn't have some sort of cat interruption. We had an episode a couple of weeks ago, and the cat literally broke the doorknob off of trying to get out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I love cats. I got off subject there for a second. All right, so this is kind of an off-winded question. So really think about it for a sec, but what do you not politics related, but how
Ugh,
do you
I
feel
don't
about
do
the world
politics.
today?
Oh gosh.
It's a deep-rooted question.
And it's a hard one.
Yes.
For me. And I'm 36 years old. I've never voted.
Oh no.
Not once in my life. I have never registered to vote, not even on cannabis. I mean, am I all for, like, other people speaking out and, changing the world and, all of that? I don't know. I feel, I don't want to get into conspiracy, but, I feel a lot of it's rigged, and a lot of energy that goes into it is misplaced. I believe the changes in the world start with your community.
Yeah.
Your neighbors. Your neighbors, then your community, your state, then your country. I am not political. I do not watch the news or TV. And some people are like, how do you even get by? And I'm like, well, I mean, I got the internet and social media. When, something is absolutely pressing, it comes to me. There was a period of time where I did try to, explore politics. And then I fell into a really weird category, a doomsday prepper. I know, that seems so off the wall.
Same.
No, okay, cool. Yeah, because I was watching the news all the time, right? Trying to understand politics and learn it. And I can honestly say I cannot give you the definition of the difference between a Republican and a Democrat, except I know one's like really angry and the other one's like, for the community, right? Like, yeah, so the news like instilled, a lot of fear, and the way they would present themselves, like, oh, catch us at 6:00. What's in your dinner causing cancer? And then next, look at this cute little puppy for adoption. We'll see you soon. And I'm like, what in the actual fuck?
Exactly.
I didn't even know what's going on. And then I'm like, and I'm making dinner, and I'm like, well, what's in my food? So yeah, the doomsday thing was also like the beginning of like a minor spiritual awakening where I was like, well, what if things did end? What if the food and stuff was gone in the stores, or we didn't have transportation? How would I submit and die at my house with my kids? Because those were my number one, right? Like, or am I gonna go out and become this amazing forest Amazon girl where I have this secret garden and I live underground? And I don't know what I was thinking. I like I can't remember his Alex something. He has a podcast, and he does conspiracy stuff. But anyway, he sells like his own products, like charcoal water filters, and then crisis gardens where they come in this sealed canister, that'll last up to 25 years. And I'm like, if I was on my own, do you really think it would last 25 years? Probably not. Powdered eggs and powdered milk, and none of that shit ever got used. I grew out of it.
Well, to an extent, I'm still kind of a prepper, but like not really. Like, I don't prep a lot. I'm like mentally prepping.
Oh, I like that.
Like a plan. Like I joke and say that I'm not just a planner. Like, I'm an ABCDEFG planner.
Oh, okay.
Like,
oh, damn. Oh, okay.
Like, if this doesn't work, then this is plan B. And if that doesn't work, plan C. But if neither of these things work out the way I think I'm going to have them work, then there's also plan G. Like,
right. Yeah, but I mean, life skills, that's what it taught me. Because I was looking at all these books, and they're like, oh, do you know how to grow your own food? Do you know how to save your own seeds? Do you know how to, make minor medicines in your kitchen? Do you know how to sew? And this, prompted me to learn how to do a garden. And then I was like, wow, I really like gardening, you know, and then saved my seeds. And so, I mean, it prompted a lot of good things. Like, I mean, I don't have a crazy bunker full of stuff
Right.
anymore. But yeah, no political views.
My husband is very political.
Oh,
And for me, I kind of fell into that for a second, and I think it was mainly because everyone around me was very political. But for me, I'm just like,
yeah, it's like football
the
season.
truth is, right. The truth is like, we can't do shit about shit, so I'm not
Yeah.
gonna waste my time.
That's how I feel about it. I'm trying to raise my kids and be happy, because I really felt the more I was sucked into political stuff or world stuff, or, you know, whether it was world domination or Armageddon, I was sad
Yeah.
all the time. It consumed me. And I'm like, I can't live like this. So I turned off the TV.
Right. And the news does that.
It does.
But at the same time, I'm one of those kind of fucked up people. And I'm like, I kind of want it all to go to shit.
Oh God, anarchy!
I'm like, let's see what happens.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, yeah.
Maybe that's the death card.
Yeah, that's the death card with the tower. For sure.
Oh, no, I think about that a lot. I'm just like, okay, but if it was like any situation where we had to be quiet, like zombies or whatever.
I know, I thought it too. Like, my daughter, she was an infant, and she had this onesie that said zombie bait, throw as needed. And I'm like, was that a gimmick? It was given to us, but I'm just
Yes.
sorry.
No, I think about that too. I'm just like, well, I mean, when you were talking about like the options, like I can try and survive or like die in my house. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, we wouldn't have a choice because my kids they don't shut up.
Yeah, yeah. If
loud.
you got kids, you're out. You're immediately out. And I thought about that too. I was like, how am I gonna drag? Because that was around the 2012, right? So my kids were still pretty young, and I'm like, how am I gonna hoof these guys up the hill? And what are they gonna do without their freaking fruit snacks? Like,
I want a snack.
yeah, like it just wouldn't work. Not the way we live. I definitely was not raised or conditioned like that. Although I do remember like the Y2K, my grandma. I thought I was going to die at midnight, okay? Like, wait, we had the candlesticks out, and, we're waiting for it to roll over and, waiting for the beast to take over. But, it was totally the beginning of a new era for, the internet. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I would do without the internet. I don't know what I would do without it.
Yeah, I talk to my kids. Sorry, I've been leaning in this weird position forever, and I'm like, I gotta move.
Fix your pillows.
Move and scoot. Oh yeah, that's much better.
Is that better?
I was talking to my.
That is a beautiful ring.
Oh, thank you. This was a Christmas present that I just barely got yesterday because it had to get resized. Wow.
That's gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah, this isn't actually my wedding ring. My wedding ring, one of the small diamonds fell out, which prompted Justin to get me a whole brand new ring, which I love because this is like the pear cut is what I've always wanted. And anyway, he's very good about stuff like that. So thank you.
Good guy. Good guy.
The internet thing. So I was talking to my daughter about that the other day, and because our kids didn't grow up without the internet.
Mm-mm.
They
No.
don't know anything different.
No.
And I was talking to her about that, and I was like, when we were kids, like, we didn't have tablets, and like we didn't have cell phones either when we were kids.
No. I
And
didn't get my first one until I was 18.
I got mine in high school, but I was very active in the school, so it's like my parents wanted to keep tabs on me, and rightfully so because I pushed my limits. but, and this cat wants to be part of this podcast. She's very cute.
Oh, thank you. Her
But-
name's Rue.
Rue?
Yeah.
Oh,
like
that's
like
cute.
kangaroo.
That's cute. I like her face. But yeah, no, I was talking to my daughter and, you know, I was letting her know, like, you know, you have no idea. Like, if everything just went to crap, like, she doesn't understand the concept of internet in general.
Oh, yeah.
She just knows that she has it.
Right.
And so if everything went to crap and you just had to, like, go back to pen and paper and a book,
Oh, my
like,
gosh.
how would they survive?
Oh man, we went through that transition. So my daughter, since she was a toddler, that's when they came out with the children's tablet. It was like called the Nobby or something.
Yeah.
Okay, and it had like the bumpers on it
Yeah.
in case they threw it and stuff. I'm like, why am I giving my 2-year-old this expensive piece of equipment? But okay, she became addicted to it. But you know, even, you know, the school programs and stuff, you know, they're teaching the computer and stuff so early. I mean, it came very naturally and stuff to her, but the addiction part of it has definitely, like, you know, the behaviors and stuff that will come with it when they get too much screen time or whatever. And then, you know, when we didn't have internet, when I couldn't afford it, when, you know, my life fell apart, just like, what do I do with my time? And I'm like, well, I mean, we've got all these crafts and Play-Doh and books, and it was a hard transition, but she definitely got to experience that for a little while.
I do think it's actually really good for them to experience that.
Yeah.
I think it's healthy. I feel like, I mean, I'll be the first one to admit that my kids probably have way too much screen time.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, what are you going to do? Come at me.
Yeah.
So, but I am very happy to say that, like, my oldest, she loves crafting. Like,
Aw.
she's starting her own YouTube channel just on crafting.
Oh my gosh.
For
Yeah,
kids,
That's
you know.
so cool. That's so cool.
And it's all her idea. I've just been a little reluctant because I don't like the idea of her having, like, I don't know. I don't even know really what it is because, like, we have a social media and everyone sees my kids,
Yeah.
but it's almost just like I just feel like she's extra exposed or something.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So I have my business Facebook, and then I have my Gypsy Valentine Facebook, which is like my personal, but it's more for my business stuff. I mean, I post, you know what I'm doing out in the community, but I keep a lot of emotion and stuff out of it. But I don't always post pictures of my kids. It's not that they don't exist. It's just because I feel like I'm keeping them safe. Like, I definitely don't, you know, approve of my kid having a Facebook at this time, just because, you know, there's a lot of weirdos and stuff out of there. And even those side apps, we've experienced some hard lessons, you know what I mean? But yeah, overexposure.
Yeah.
I feel you.
So, but see, I almost feel hypocritical when I say that because, like, our Rollin' with the Fergs page, I don't know if you've seen that.
I don't think I have.
So we started it when we started the RV life
That's cool. I'll have to
for
check it
our
out.
family, right? For our family and friends to see it because we didn't want to have to send out the same pictures and videos to 50 people every single time.
Oh, that makes sense.
However, now we have 1,200 followers.
Oh.
So I'm conflicted because it's like 1,200 people daily see our kids and our
There's
family.
families that get famous that way, and then
That was never her intent.
they
It just
get
kind of
paid.
happened.
They get paid to just live their lives.
So we started getting paid.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we
Oh
did.
my gosh.
We started getting paid, but it wasn't anything that we could live off of. I mean,
Okay.
it just kind of happened, and we're like, oh shit, there's something to this. But yeah, it completely happened by accident. It wasn't something we were trying to do.
Oh man.
And so that's why I feel hypocritical because it's like my kids are already plastered on the internet.
Yeah.
But it's like that added protection. Like I still have somewhat control over what goes out and what people see and who
Absolutely.
sees it. But on YouTube, I mean, once you're there, you're anyone.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
So I get conflicted, but at the same time, like, what if that's her path? What if that's her journey? I mean, that is
Yeah.
who she is, and she's one of those like powerful, ambitious people who will do it all by herself.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
Well, and you're showing her the ropes too, because obviously you have the capacity to, be found. This will allow your kids to be, outgoing. And I mean, we live in a world now where, a lot of people's lives are on the internet.
yeah,
Even Facebook, where they're called digital creators, and, receiving stars for just, posting their pictures or their daily coffee and stuff. I'm like, man, I used to do that when Facebook first came out.
Right.
And everybody would get pissed off because I was posting food pictures all the time, and now it's a thing.
right, right. I know. For me, it was always my beer because I would go get craft beers, and like there would always, maybe it was like my version of scrying. I don't know, but there was always like the way the bubbles would form.
Oh man,
It was like almost always a picture, and I'd
like
take
tea
pictures of-
leaves.
Yeah, or something like that, you know.
Beer
and-
witch.
Maybe. But I have some pretty cool pictures that they're just all like,
That's
one of
cool.
them literally was like spiraled, like I called it the Milky Way because it just reminded me of the universe, and it was just really, really cool. But anyway, I don't know how I got on that. Yeah, no. So you never really truly answered like how you feel about the world.
What do you mean? How I feel about the world? Give me.
It's a
little-
complex question.
It is. I mean,
And
it's
there's-
very open ended.
It is, and there's really no wrong or right answer. Like, okay, my mom, who I totally did not expect to say this, she was just like, "Oh, it's beautiful, it's a beautiful place," because, like, I feel like most people say, "Oh, they hate it." It's just like you have to find the beauty in the dark. But she's just like, no, it's beautiful. You have to separate the dark from it.
So, if you take the politics part out of it, because I thought that was what you meant.
No.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, are we talking about suffering, worldwide suffering, war, leadership? Do I like the world? Yeah. I think it's a very magical place. The 3D is... I'm a psychic medium, so I see more than what's here, and I hear more than what people can. I think the experience that we get to have here is pretty pleasurable, between food and sex and shopping, and you don't get to do that on other planes of existence. I feel like we come here to enjoy the beauty of all of those things. I'm grateful to be here.
And all the emotions that come with it.
Oh man, the roller coaster of emotions, and sometimes it feels too much, being an empath, because I got my own emotions, but then I feel everybody else's emotions on top of that. You know what I mean? I've dealt with periods of my life where I wasn't sure if I wanted to be here anymore, because I just couldn't see the beauty in things where you allow the darkness to consume you. I think you need to have a healthy balance to appreciate what's in front of you.
Mm-hmm. And something I posted on my Facebook page recently was just a little blurb. Something was speaking to me, and I felt like it was a message that I needed to get out. But when you're going through all the hardships and all the lessons and all of that stuff, it's like super important to remember, like, the universe isn't doing it to you. It's doing it for you.
Yeah. I definitely can agree with that. Sometimes my clients, they'll be like, why is the universe doing this to me? Or and I'll be like, well, the universe does have a sense of humor. And sometimes the universe will mislead us on purpose. It's about life lessons, right?
Yeah.
Because we're human. We ask a lot of questions. Why?
Right.
Well, when we're asking why, it's because we're looking for a way in or a way out, and the universe is like, I need you to go this way so you can learn the lesson, right? If we had all the answers, there wouldn't be any challenges, or if things were good all the time, it would be really boring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And you wouldn't appreciate things actually being
yeah,
good.
sometimes
Because you
need
wouldn't know anything different.
Yeah, sometimes you need a shitty ass crisis in your life to help you, stand up straight and again appreciate what you have.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So, tell me a little bit more about being a psychic medium. Like, you see more, you hear more, but like, what is that like? Is it all the time? Is it like, how does that work?
So it is all the time.
Okay.
It didn't used to be like that. When it first started, it would just happen randomly. Like, I would hear my guide be like, don't do that. Or don't go that way. And then other times it was, seeing the dead, where they just, show up like, hey, yeah, dude, it's really like, oh my God, why are you doing
while
that?
you're
Yeah,
awake?
yes, yeah, or wake you up. Yeah, like sometimes they wake me up in the middle of the night, and they literally just like show up out of nowhere, and I'm like, wow, I wish I had more control over this. And there was a period of time where I was like, I don't want it. Because so the astral realm is where I receive like, channeled messages, downloads. This is where, my guides and stuff talk to me. And I don't always have control over the information that's coming in or the visions that I have. And because I was like, I don't want it, it became more and more intense, because I had a severe truck accident while I was in rehab, and that was the breaking point. That was it. There was no going back after that. I couldn't go back to sleep, they say.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And why do you think that was?
The brain damage.
Okay.
For sure. I always had the gifts, but I was broken more into it. It was a near-death experience. I like to think that our brains are like a radio station. They have different channels that they operate on. They say we only use 10% of our brain, right? And then, when you smack it enough times, it starts to receive, other messages, if you will. That's kind of how it is. Sometimes it's like having 10 TVs on. I am very much got my head in the clouds a lot, and I've learned to deal with the background noise, if that makes sense. I also have like forms of telepathy, with people around me. So sometimes I'm like, I don't want to fucking hear that.
Right.
Where somebody's being totally rude,
Oh.
but they're not saying it out loud. But for me, it's like, well, you might as well just say it out loud, because I
Right.
can hear you.
Yeah. That sounds terrible.
It's a curse in itself, and an amazing gift at the same time, because not having a lot of family, and then living alone. I've been single for so long. It's my guides help me with day-to-day tasks. I'm always in my head, and this helps me with my clients too. Being able to connect with their ancestors or their guides. I'm finishing my mastery for Reiki, and that's helped a lot with the channels, being able to control them and filtering out the gunk, because when you're brought into this profession, spirituality, ascension, whatever you want to call it, you are prompted to heal. You have to heal yourself, your lineage, your bloodline, all of that. And it's, for the greater good, of not just, you and your family, but everybody else around you, you know, because it collectively, you know, raises the vibration of the world eventually, you know, light workers and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I can speak to that. Like I've been doing a lot of I kind of joke about it a little bit, but the 2022 was a lot about, because I had a reading with you, and you know, you mentioned that quote unquote demon or whatever you want to call it, the attachment that I had, and it's like I always fucking knew and felt it, but I just like I didn't want to admit it. You know, and it's just like, so 2022 was really about getting my head in the right spot, getting out of this cycle of negativity that I was constantly in, and push past myself. And so, and then this year is to make sure that like my physical self complements that.
Oh, I like this. I like that.
So it's like I'm reinventing everything about myself.
Yeah.
I'm refinding myself, rebirthing myself, if you will. And that's kind of why I just decided to take the plunge with this podcast, honestly, is because it's like I'm probably really underprepared, probably undereducated, but I was just like, fuck it.
Yeah, no, you learn along the way. When I first started my YouTube, it was when well, just before COVID, like, because I was just doing it on my Facebook, and it was a game, doing tarot for people, because of what I seen on YouTube. And then I eventually, you know, moved it on to YouTube. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And you know what? I fell a couple of times where I had to take, you know, 6-month break, or, you know, this last time, I mean, it's almost been a year since my last actual tarot video, where I had to, you know, take a step back and reevaluate my life, the content that, you know, I was putting out there, or the types of viewers that I was pulling in. It's like kids. You're never really ready. It just you just gotta go in and you know, see where things go from there. And I know I'm not like everybody else, and sometimes I would be like, well, should I be more like everybody else? Because there's that aspect, like, do I want to get found?
Right.
Do I want to get found, or is this just still for business? But you know, when you're out there, anybody has the possibility of getting found. And that's actually made me pull back a little bit too, because I'm like, am I going to be like Kurt Cobain? And it's going to be like difficult to even go, you know, shopping, you know? It's also a lot of responsibility because it's a job.
Right.
It's not just like, you know, oh, glam, and you know how long it takes to like fix my hair and do my makeup and then deal with my anxiety before I get on there. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. And for now it's fun. And it became demanding, to the point where I was having dreams and they're like, you're going to get found. And I'm like, I don't want it. I'm going to go do something else. And this is where I started building things in the community, doing, you know, the events, and kind of moved away from that. But I mean, I'd like to get back into it. I mean, this was a nice little experience here, because I haven't been on, you know, camera in a while. It's fun.
It is fun. But I do understand what you mean. Like, part of me is like, I really, really want to blow up, you know? Not so much for me, but because I do feel like I have something to offer.
Absolutely.
And to help people. Because I feel like in every single recording that we've had so far, like for the show, I feel like someone learned something about themselves, or they have an introspective moment, or they have like just this moment, an empowering moment almost. And I feel like that's really important, like, because as much as I feel like I'm having that at the same time as them, like, I feel like the world needs more of that. It needs more of those moments, those ahas, or the, oh, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, it does help.
Or someone
other
else
people.
did that.
That's a good reason.
You know? Like, someone else went through that and they're okay.
Yeah.
You know, they spent their whole life as an addict and now they've been sober for 7 years or
I
whatever.
I did like 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years of on and off drugs. I never thought it would end. But yeah, I put my story out there, and that's where I got a majority of my followers, was just talking about the shit,
Yeah.
you know? things that people don't want to talk about. They're willing to listen, but
Yeah.
they're not always willing to talk about it.
Yeah, the real life stuff that's what speaks to me, is the real life stuff. I mean, all of the educational stuff or the big people stuff, I say big people, but like the super famous people, whether it's because of their career or whatever, like it's interesting and sometimes it is knowledgeable, but it's like at the same time, I'm like, but for someone who is not, in Hollywood or whatever, like, which is most of us,
Right?
how do I connect with that? So, and that's where I was just like, I want something I can connect to, something that's raw. And plus, I love hearing people's stories because everyone has one.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's unique. But, yeah, anyway, what is, I know what mine would be for you, but what is one word you would use to describe yourself? And really think about it before you decide.
Eccentric.
That is the one that
Yeah,
I was
heard
gonna.
you.
I was bouncing between two. It was like
unique and eccentric.
eccentric and embellished were the two that I was going
I
with.
like that. I love being decorated.
Yeah,
I
like-
like makeup and jewelry.
You're like an embellishment, It's like you have this, like I said, this aura that's just different. It's just special.
Aw, I appreciate that. I love it when I go to the grocery store and somebody compliments me on my shoes
Yeah.
or my hair. And that's not being conceited. Like, there was a good portion of my life where I was unseen. I was invisible. Times where I didn't want to be invisible or unseen, and then other times where I was like, fuck it. All right, just don't notice me. And now being seen, and like, it makes people stay, it's a great conversation starter, a smile, or a compliment goes a long way, and, I can give it back. Makes me feel good.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
should. But as you're saying unseen, like I was talking with Justin about that the other day, like how important it is to feel seen. Like for me, it's like when I'm speaking, like I want your attention.
Yeah.
Don't look at your phone. Don't look at the TV. Fucking turn the TV off.
Yeah.
I don't care if I'm asking you what you want for dinner. You need to turn it off and give me your attention, Just, and it's just something, it's just a simple respect and that's how I feel seen and loved, is when I have your full attention.
Yeah.
But I also don't like going out into public, which is a really weird thing, but I don't like people to look at me in public. And I feel like everybody's staring at me all the time.
Oh, because you possess an energy to be seen.
I know. And I know it's a self-conscious trait, because they might be looking at me in a positive way and I'm just like, oh crap, I have a booger on my face, or I forgot to tie my shoe.
No.
Oh my god, my zipper's undone. Like, something. But they might be like, oh wow, like her hair is a pretty color. I don't know.
Right?
Something. Or they could just be looking at me because I have a plaid shirt on and they like
Right.
plaid. But
Well, and if you're being looked at like that, that you might be emitting, a light, or you might be, a beacon, and maybe this can be, put into where you're going into the future, and use that energy to blow up. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's a good way to put it. I've never really seen it that way. But that was like my biggest fear, even going into a gym. Like, I would be
Oh,
like,
God.
oh, everybody's
Yeah,
staring at
no.
me, but no one was fucking looking at me.
Right?
It's just like, no one's looking
the
at me.
restaurant alone. Why is this guy watching me eat?
Right? But no one's looking, and that's one of those ways that I'm in my head. But no, I think the embellishment is a really good word, in addition to being eccentric. Is it eccentric or is it eccentric? Is it eccentric?
Eccentric?
Okay, now I don't
Now
know.
it's lost its meaning.
I don't know. In my head, I see the word and it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really appreciate you taking the time and letting me come into your house
Thank
and
you.
tell your story. And I mean, I'd love to have you on again to talk about other
That'd be
things.
great. Yeah.
Whether it's a conversation or going into something specific. I know that I'm planning to have in the future like a whole mental health series
Ooh.
because I have my own stuff and my sister, and I know you've got yours.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's something that we didn't even touch on in this that I would like to
Okay.
in the future that I didn't even know about you until recently, and I don't know if it's from the car accident or the truck accident or what. Your epilepsy?
Oh, no,
Yeah.
that was from DV. My last relationship, it was from head trauma. I do believe, you know, the truck accident, you know, might have had some juggling in there and maybe like the 20 years of, you know, drug abuse, but it was that final moment of domestic violence that prompted the epilepsy and trying to recover from that.
So is it, I don't want to spill too much because I do want another episode on it, but is it something that you can recover from, or is it,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, it's something I can recover from. It's just going to take time with food and, you know, more Reiki, energy healing, and therapy to keep my anxiety under control, not working myself to death.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's just one little aspect, but I'd love to, I'm going to do a mini series on that in the future, just people's experiences with mental health issues and what that looks like for each individual because, for example, people will hear OCD and they think you clean a lot. That's not necessarily the case.
Right.
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 So just putting light on actual experiences on those things. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yes, I am too. I think it'll help a lot of people. But I appreciate you coming on the show. You've been a fantastic guest, and I had a lot of fun, and I hope that your message resonates with people, and I hope that it brings you a lot of business because you're fantastic. So yeah, I'm gonna end it there.
Yeah,
All right.
thanks.
Thank you, everybody.